Hello everyone and welcome to lesson 31. In this lesson we are going to have another look at unclear antecedents. Now at the time of filming it's just after Christmas, and around the Christmas time there was a funny meme that was being sent around WhatsApp, and eventually it came to me, and this was the meme. It says here, Christmas tip, in other words Christmas help. Wrap empty boxes and put them under the tree. Every time your child acts up, in other words, every time your child misbehaves, throw one into the fireplace. Now, I think the context is pretty clear here. The idea is that every time your child misbehaves, you pick up a box, a present, and you throw the present into the fire. That way the child realizes what's going on and then hopefully starts to behave properly again. But of course, someone misinterpreted the message and they said, what if I ran out of kids? So they understood the message in a way that you don't throw presents into the fire, but you throw children into the fire. I think that was a joke. I hope that was a joke, but it wonderfully illustrates the problem of unclear antecedents. In this case, the unclear antecedent is one. And it's an unclear antecedent because it could be interpreted absolutely fairly, absolutely justifiably, as being a present or a child. If we forget about the context. In a different context, it could be understood as being one thing or the other thing. And the reason why I'm doing another lesson on unclear antecedents is because this particular unclear antecedent, one, is one of the most common unclear antecedent mistakes that I come across in my work here in Poland. And even at the beginning of 2021, I've seen this error already about 3 or 4 times. So I think it's time to revisit this problem. And in revisiting this problem, I want to make one thing absolutely clear. This is a native and a non-native speaker mistake, because it's simply caused by the careless use of substitutive forms. Now, I've talked about this before in lesson 19. If you still don't understand everything completely in this lesson, then go check out lesson 19 and find out what I am saying there. But essentially, what you're doing is you're using a substitutive form and you're forcing the reader to interpret the text because you haven't written the text clearly enough. And if you haven't written the text clearly enough, and if you are forcing the reader to interpret, in other words, guess, are we talking about this or are we talking about this? Then it's possible that they will get that wrong. And the way to avoid this problem is either to be really, really clear in what you're writing or to use repetition absolutely properly and without fear of someone accusing your writing of lacking style. So you would use repetition to make your message clear. So let me just give you an example. I put the business report in my briefcase, but now I've lost it. And it is the unclear antecedent. Is it the business report or is it the briefcase? There is no convention in the English language which tells us that it must be one or the other. It could be either. And the reader now has to decide what has been lost. Has it been the business report or has it been the briefcase? Or was it the briefcase? But if the writer said, I put the business report in my briefcase, but now I've lost the report, or I put the business report in my briefcase, but now I've lost the briefcase, that repetition resolves the problem. Here, there is no room for misunderstanding. Okay, so here are the teaching tips. You need to review your writing because this is such a common mistake. You do it without thinking because you know the substitutive form refers to something specific. But unfortunately, because of the way the sentence is written, It means that the reader doesn't know what you're thinking about, and it opens your writing up to interpretation. You've got to learn what the most common offending words are, and go onto Google, type in unclear antecedents. You'll see lots of resources there. I've shown you two, one and it, but it could also be he, she, they. There are many, many substitutive forms. If you practice this skill, you will get better at spotting them and correcting them. Okay? You'll begin to, if you ask yourself, what does it mean in this case? What does one mean in this case? Then you'll get better, as I say, at spotting them, at saying, okay, I don't want to say one here, I want to say something specific. I want to say something concrete. Don't be afraid of repetition, okay? Always bear in mind, writers prefer clarity, or rather readers, I should say, writers and readers prefer clarity over elegance. If you understand something, that's much better than not understanding something which is written in a beautiful way. It's just common sense. If you're communicating a message that has to be understood precisely, then repetition will help you communicate that message. And the problem here is, I talk about people interpreting the text, and you as the writer might think that that's a little bit unfair. But as I said before in this video, this is perfectly justifiable if the reader, because you've written the sentence in a bad way, because you've used an unclear antecedent, it's perfectly justified for the reader to say, well, I think it's this, because that's what you've written. And the reader is absolutely correct. There is no defense here, okay? You've written something using an unclear antecedent. It is not clear. You cannot defend it. As I said, there is no English language convention that says it refers to this, because we don't have anything like that in English. So this is why unclear antecedents are so dangerous, particularly in legal and business writing. So those are the teaching tips. Make sure you study them, make sure you learn them. Okay, on to the questions. What I'd like you to do is pretty much the same as lesson 19. Read the sentences below, identify the unclear antecedent, and then redraft the sentence to fix the problem. And I'll give you the same example here. I put the business report in my briefcase, but now I've lost it. So I want you to say, it is the unclear antecedent. And I want you to do that to get into the habit of identifying the unclear antecedents. And then I want you to get into the habit of using repetition to make sure that the reader can understand the text only in one way. Okay, so if you're ready for that, then click on the link below to download the file, and then once you've finished the questions, have a look at my answer video. If you're watching this on YouTube or LinkedIn or on Facebook and you want to see the questions and the answer video, then please think about joining me on Patreon, where for a very, very, very small monthly fee, you'll get access to all my online courses.